Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon,
And I'm Nathan.
and tonight we have another very special episode. We have the 2003 movie Oldboy. Nathan, do you have a history with Oldboy?
I remember we talked about this movie not on the show, but just about it.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was because we were after. I think it was when we watched like The President's Last Bang.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, there's all kinds of crazy Korean cinema,
Yeah.
and this was like the hallway hammer fight.
Yes.
It's like came up, and it's like, well, this movie must be nuts. I believe I watched it, and I remember it made an impression on me when I watched it then, and then I I watched it again like just last night, and yeah, but that's my history of is just watching this on streaming services.
Yeah, like around this time there was this kind of introduction to America of like South Korean film, and it's like, oh, this is really good. Like, where was this?
Yeah,
Because it's not like it doesn't seem like they're like, so there's some like special effects and CGI stuff where it seems to be somewhat lacking, but that's only I only notice it this time around, but maybe because I'm a foot away from a screen I can notice that.
yeah,
um but like it doesn't seem like their production values are less or anything like that. And then so yeah, there's definitely like this. There's Memoirs of a Murder, which came out the same year, which was another big South Korean movie. Yeah, we're big fans of The President's Last Bang, which I don't know when that came out, but it's probably around this time. And then it's kind of been, there's a ton of South Korean cinema you can find that's like oh, this is really good. And then maybe got the most blown up around the pandemic with Squid Game. Like that's South Korean produced. So
and then what was the kind of the apex of that, like Parasite?
oh yeah, Parasite, yeah, won the best Oscar for won the Oscar for Best Picture. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely
not even best foreign film, just
no,
best
just Best
picture.
Picture.
Okay, interesting.
um, yeah, because I think I heard about President's Last Bang on like an NPR report. I'm like, what's this? Because also what's crazy about that movie is because you just like don't like you watch that movie, it's that's a quaint little fiction. It's like, oh no, this actually happened. It's like,
Yeah,
what
no,
are you
that's
talking
real.
about?
Yeah. Well, that's why I liked it because I knew like what they were talking about when that happened. I mean, I vaguely remember that. I don't understand Korean politics or culture or anything,
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, I remember that happened because I know that they've always kind of. It's like, well, North Korea is an awful dictatorship. It's like, indeed, it is. However, South Korea kind of rides that edge sometimes, of, like becoming like a fascist version of itself.
Yeah.
Um,
And then also like I think the weird thing about South Korean movies, which I guess would be obvious, is that they have a lot of American influence to it. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
because I mean it's clearly its own culture, but there's always something weirdly relatable about them. Like a lot of people in jeans and t-shirts in a way that I don't think are in a lot of other Asian countries. Um, a lot of the, especially in all their films, the a lot of the major inciting like incidents are like medical bills and education bills. I was like, oh, okay, so they're just American.
Yeah, they've just copied. Well, don't we still have a huge like contingent of forces in South Korea?
I think we have bases there, but they've also built up their own forces to be very extreme too. I mean, they're just using all our stuff, so it's like,
Yeah,
and also now like they're now an economic superpower as well, so they can do their own stuff as well. But
yeah.
because they're Samsung, which that used to be a positive thing, but I think people are not liking Samsung lately, almost across the
From
board.
what I've heard, they might be going broke.
Okay.
It sounds unbelievable to me, but I remember when Sony was a big thing too. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how Sony survives. It's like, when's the last time you bought a Sony product?
I don't. Yeah, well, they have a
Remember
lot.
in the 80s and 90s, wasn't the Sony product the one you wanted?
Yeah, that was the thing. I mean,
Uh,
Dad was in Japan a lot. It's like, oh, look for the special ones, like the
yeah.
dark ones you can't get here. And it's like, yeah, that's not a thing anymore.
I mean, I am using a Samsung monitor, which like I like them, and then but then you look at like a Samsung TV versus a Sony TV. It's like, well, they look about the same, but the Sony's like $1,000 more expensive. I don't know what I'm getting for that. So,
Yeah, I have Samsung. I have a giant Samsung TV, um, like the Q90 version of that. So it's it was the time I bought it. It's still amazing because it's a huge TV and everyone's face looks very sharp and clear.
yeah,
People still come to our house and they're like, whoa, because we just have that one big wall.
yeah.
It's like it's just got this huge TV on it. And it's like, wow, that really looks good. Usually when they get that big, I was like, yeah, I know. Let me tell you why, because it costs a lot, but it's like it's a great TV. And then I have a Samsung washer and dryer, which they're fine. They sing to me a lot. They when the cycle's done, they sing. When it's time for rinse cycle, the cleanup cycle,
Yeah.
the hot water cycle. Yeah, it sings a different song and it seems happy. It's like it makes laundry fun. It's like time to fold a bunch of shit. Ding, ding, a ding, a ding, ding, ding. So yeah, I like Samsung products. That's the limit of my knowledge of South Korean culture is products. I have a huge TV. I have a TV like I have a TV remember in Total Recall, like they got a TV that's like a wall. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's finally a reality, and it doesn't cost $100,000. So
It's not a projector. So.
no, and it doesn't project. And when I hung it on the wall, it was really floppy and scared me. It's like this thing has no structure to it. But I guess they're all like that because it says right in the box, like, do not lay flat because it'll just fold over like a piece of pizza. If it had a bunch of structure and it weighed 500 pounds, you couldn't put it on the wall. So,
But yeah, so yeah, as the country has had a success, the other things rise up with it. It's like, well, we can spend more on cinema now. So
yep.
I don't know the current state of South Korean like entertainment. I imagine like especially with Squid Game, it's like healthy. I remember
As long as they can port into like a wider world, I think they're going to do really good.
Yeah, yeah.
They seem to have that ability. Like, oh yeah, everyone understands these stories.
Well, I also think that there's more of a not acceptance is last right word, but back and forth between Japan and South Korea with their entertainment, which it used to be kind of like a block where it's like only Koreans watch Japan, not the other way around.
Yeah.
The Japanese would not watch anything Korean, but now it's kind of have more blended. I remember like in the 90s, back when you would have real life animators. If you were watching a American cartoon, it was drawn by Koreans.
Yeah. Like Family Guy still is that way.
I maybe I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like Simpson was famously that way, and but in the good old art minds of cartoon. So, but a lot of that now is like supplemented by computers, so now they can do crazy things with that, so they don't need as many animators anymore. So
I think South Park's still 100% homegrown.
oh yeah, they can, yeah, because that's all done in like Maya or something like that. Like it's all done in a computer. Like they don't got to sit there and cut out paper mache, and it's all ready to go. They can just like toss stuff in and like that. Like they can at this point they probably just have a program that when they record the audio that it just automatically can do the lip syncing because it's not like that requires very delicate lip syncing. It's just a flapping mouth.
Yeah.
It's
Especially the Canadian characters.
yeah. It's literally flapping.
Down, yeah. I've heard now they're looking at next gen when they do like subtitles are actually going to become a thing of the past. And they're going to actually like the actor's mouth will move in sync with whatever language they're speaking.
Oh yeah, they do that with Pixar movies.
Yeah. So they're going to start doing that with real movies, I guess.
Just AI over it? Yeah, I've seen that before. I've seen it in like commercials, but yeah.
That's more for American to foreign audience. Like they're going to spend that money here first.
Yeah.
So it's like, the superheroes will looks like they're speaking Japanese. It's like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Okay. or Korean or whatever, or Chinese. Really, the big market's China.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone wants that entertainment and yuan.
Well, they seem to backed off on it. There's a book about it I haven't read yet called like Red Carpet, which is about like Hollywood and China, because that was a whole thing where it's like you can see them literally like capitulating to China just because there's
Yeah.
a big market there. What do they call them? They're like, and so they're like, I think the Chinese people called like the Chinese characters in American movies vases because they're just there to look pretty and they don't do anything.
Yeah. It's like, oh, look, they got a low interest loan from one of our banks. So they had to put this Chinese person in this movie. And even the Chinese see through it, which
Yeah,
is great. I like that. It's like, yeah.
So it's the so now like basically the Chinese have like stopped watching those movies. Like they know like, okay, that's not. I mean, not stop watching them, but they're not, because now they have their own $1 billion movies that you've never fucking heard of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I think like the biggest movie like in China, it's not an American movie. It's something called like Wolf 2, and it's just like a big giant action movie made in China for Chinese people, and it's made like $2 billion.
Chinese Rambo.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's called the Wolf Warrior or something.
yeah, yeah.
It's like it involves Americans, but it's like their special forces killing us and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, the Chinese military wins again.
And I think they have a couple of movies. They have a couple of movies based on the Korean War, which I kind of want to see. It's like, oh man, I want to see propaganda from the other side. But really, there was never any like propaganda, like post propaganda for the Korean War. I'm like, oh, what a great war! Like that never happened because like
Nope.
MASH was never like positive about the Korean War, and it was also just like a fill-in for the Vietnam War too. It's like, and then just in general, war in general. It's
Yeah.
And then all the books I read about it, I was like, man, this war's crazy and nobody talks about it.
Yeah, they should make movies about this. I want to see the Chosun Reservoir like mini series on HBO.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what did they call the guys that just use bayonets at night?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was the American Marines that they called them like the White Death or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because they just because if they used bayonets, they couldn't they didn't make noise.
Yeah.
And they would just, I don't know if that's like a legend or something that really, because so many things that happened during the Korean War, like that's insane, that didn't happen. It's like, oh yeah, it did.
Yeah, because like I never like until I read the book about like a couple of books about it, like I didn't realize we were fighting the Chinese in that war, because I thought that was always a thing, like, oh, America and China, they've never stood toe to toe, like what could happen. It's like, well, actually they did, and we kind of lost to a bunch of peasants who would pre-tourniquet themselves, layer themselves in bombs and hand grenades, share guns, and just run at the enemy while spreading propaganda. And they'd only attack at night, because if they attacked during the day, we would just kill them immediately with any air power. So.
Well, the thing I learned about was there was always this, like, the World War II armor heads. And because I build models, I just follow this stuff. It's like, it was always like, how would the Sherman stack up against the T-34? It's like, well, we found out in the Korean War, and we found out the Sherman stacked up really good against the T-34, because I think it had been upgunned at that point. But yeah, they wiped them out, But it was also, again, the Russians turned World War II rolling stock over to a bunch of Chinese peasants and say, yeah, go fight capitalism. It's like, yeah, they fought capitalism. It's like, we have tanks too, like the Americans, let's go. And it's like, wait, do you know what you're doing? Oh no. It's like, they just started exploding. It's like, oh, stop.
Well, the North Koreans at first, like, they basically like captured 90% of the country, because at that time we didn't have any armor there at all.
Yeah.
And so they rolled in with tanks and captured the whole country. The Marines come in, then they capture the whole country, and then the Chinese come in and they fight the way to the middle. Because there was like, because yeah, they they got their ass kicked for a while, but then they like started to like better use their air power, and basically like nobody moved at all. It's like, well, we're dug in, and we can fire artillery all night, and that war used more artillery in that war than was used in the entirety of World War II. Like, that country was turned into a fucking pile of rubble. And then And then yeah, and like during the day, we just have airplanes fly overhead. If any Chinese popped out, we just kill them immediately. And so then yeah, then they declared ceasefire, and then the Chinese left, and it became North Korea.
I still it's like MacArthur got fired. He's like, I can solve this problem with the Chinese, the cobalt lines. What do you mean? It's like we're going to drop so many atomic bombs at the Chinese Korean border that the Chinese would die of radiation trying to cross it. And Truman was like, yeah, you're fired. Are you out of your mind? No. You want to incinerate hundreds of thousands of Asian people again? I think we're going to establish a precedent here. Yeah, that was
And that's all we know about Korea.
well, no, I read The Coldest Winter and the Battle of the Chosun Reservoir. And,
Oh, okay. I read The Last Stand of Fox Company, which that's when the Chinese basically enter the war, when the Marines get to like one more pass, and then like, oh, here they come.
yeah.
That's the book where basically like every
The Americans get to experience the joy of communist wave attacks like Germans did in World War II. It's like, this is insane.
Yeah, we literally have to pull bodies off. You literally have to move mountains of bodies so you can just kill more people that are running at you.
Shoot a hole through the mountain of corpses so you can shoot more. It's like, oh, you're just never sleeping again after this experience.
It's so cold, and then like weapons stop working, and then like you're beating someone to death with a helmet.
Yep.
Because like, yeah, you're outmanned, but if you're like one-on-one, it's like, well, you're an American with food, and they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like Conan the Barbarian. So you just get rat packed, by 15 guys.
So yeah, that's what like you read that book, and it's like every war movie cliche where it's like, okay, that's just myth. It's like, oh no, it actually happened here. So yeah, Oldboy came out November 21st, 2003. Just in time for the holidays.
Yep.
Director is Park Chan-wook. I'm probably going to get all these names wrong or say them wrong, so I apologize. I'm trying. He hasn't he makes good movies, but it probably the most thing he's known for is like he's a producer on Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
There's a new TV show called The Sympathizer, which he worked on. I haven't seen that. I don't know if it's any good or not. Well, yeah, I've seen. He has like the Vengeance trilogy.
Yeah.
This is the middle part. So the first one is, well, I'm not sure if it's an official trilogy. Maybe it's what people call it. There's Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, which is also another really good movie that's very like. That'll break your heart because it's almost like, hey, what if we made Train Spotting, but the drug was like hopelessness and sadness. But it doesn't quite have the gut punch that this does. And then he has Lady Vengeance, which I haven't seen, but that's the end of the Vengeance trilogy. So I don't know if you've seen stuff on his list of things that you recognize at all, but that's that guy.
just Snowpiercer.
Okay,
which was another movie. What that was all Snowpiercer. Was that a Japanese manga thing too?
Probably this one is too.
Yeah, I knew this one, and I thought Snowpiercer was. But I wasn't sure if it was Japanese or not. It could have been Korean. I wasn't sure.
Well, like this movie is based on a Japanese manga,
Yeah.
which again, this is why I'm saying like it. Like it used to only go one way, it seems to be going two ways now. But like this was again like, oh, the Korean enjoyed this thing and they made a movie out of it. Where it seemed like the other way around was happening. But oh, what the hell was I looking at? Oh, Snowpiercer. That's the TV show. Because I forget who directed Snowpiercer. Oh, who's this? Bong Joon-ho? Oh, he did Parasite. Okay, that makes sense. Because I thought Snowpiercer was directed by that one. Do you know the director? I think his name is Wong Oh no, his name has war in it. Is it Wong Kar Wai or something? Let's see here. Okay, Kar Wai Wong, or yeah, Kar Wai Wong. Okay, I thought there was one of these South Korean directors whose name I actually think this guy's Chinese, but I thought there was a guy his name was like has war in the title. It's like that's cool, but anyways, um, and then the cinematographer is Chung Hoon Chung, which I think that's it's flipped here where it's like they traditionally have the last name first and the first name last, where you have it's the surname first or whatever.
Yeah, I knew there was something like that, but
So I think it's written that way here. I'm not entirely sure. So well, actually, it changes every once in a while. Oh well. But this guy made it to America. It took him about a decade, but he's here in America now, or at least making American movies, because he shot this movie, and then in 2017 he did It,
okay.
The Current War,
I remember that one.
Hotel Artemis, Zombieland Double Tap, Last Night in Soho, the Uncharted movie. He shot like I think all the episodes of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. He recently shot that Willy Wonka movie, that new one with
Oh, okay.
Timothy Chalamet. So yeah, he's working on American movies now. So
Oh, he is a member of the American Society of Cinematographers, the only Korean,
okay, cool.
and
But
he is currently under the United Talent Agency. Oh, he's trying to become an American citizen too. Okay, cool.
okay,
So
but
he's found his way.
yeah, he does good work. So because I never had any interest in watching that It movie, but it looks nice.
Oh, it's a cool looking movie. I only
Okay,
watched the first one.
yeah. Um, and then written by I don't know any of these people. Well, they got the director Park Chan Wook. He co-wrote it. Then there's Jun Hyung Lim, and then Jo Yun Hwang. Which like if you look up these guys' stuff, it's like they have like two credits to their name, and then it's based on a manga by Garen Shuchia and Nobuaki Migishi. So I don't know who they are. I don't even know if the manga's called Oldboy. I think it is, but I don't even know. So,
I can look that up.
because I think it's a Japanese manga. As far
Yes,
as
it is, and it is Old Boy.
okay.
That's what it's called. They even have the Japanese pronunciation here, but I'm not going to do it because it would come across racist. Because I'd try to do a Japanese accent.
I know sometimes with Korean, if there's a K in it, you kind of make a. Oh no, if there's a G in the word, you kind of make a K sound. That's like the
Okay,
only thing I know.
I know it's just symbols.
um, and I know like vowels are very important to like languages in that area. Because sometimes like you pronounce a vowel four different ways, and I think in Vietnam like every vowel has six different pronunciations to it.
Oh my!
Um, because like a lot of those languages they just like reuse the same word, and like if you just change the how the vowel sounds, it becomes a new word.
Yeah,
Which like with the English language, we just make a new word, which is why English is really hard to learn because everything changes constantly.
yeah. It's not just a derivative of this word. It's like, no, it's a new thing. Love it.
um,
I think was it Hungarian where they just add the new word to other words, so you
oh,
get
is
like
that German?
insane sentence structures.
Oh, okay. Well, German does that too. They have just these like words that are like 48 letters long, and it's just like three different words crammed together.
Yeah, I think that's why German has the most acronyms of any like language because
Yeah.
everything just gets shortened. No, it's the ABC. It's like, what does that mean? Well, got a minute? I'll explain it.
Cast is Choi Min Sik, Yu Jita, and Kang Hai Young. Which I look these people up. Like I like them in this movie, but I don't recognize anything else they've ever done. So
Yeah, the main actor in this really like, wow. The guy who played Odesu is like, yeah, that's you're even crazier than oh, who's the guy? The name of the father, and oh, who's the guy who shows up and does a movie like once every 5 years and then renounces acting?
Oh, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, this guy's like Daniel Day-Lewis on steroids.
Oh, okay.
It's like, no, I'm gonna just go full nuts on this role,
Yeah.
and yeah, yes, I'm eating an octopus alive for real. Yeah, it's like okay,
Yeah, I thought the trivia there was he was like a vegetarian, and but then I think, but then I saw the trivia just said he was just Buddhist and he prayed heavily before he ate a live squid. So.
yeah, I would pray heavily before I did that too because it's just gross. But
Yeah. Well, the way he eats it, I'm like, man, you're just gonna choke on that.
yeah,
But yeah, you get to do that if you're making a foreign film. There's no what's that, ASPCA or whatever, the American
yeah, no, they don't care.
Animal Protection or Care Act or something like that. So. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. So we've introduced all the cast and everything. Yep, got through that. I'm trying to think if there's any other productions. But yeah. This was a time for South Korean cinema, and as far as I know, it's still thriving in some ways. So. So you have Act 1. We open on a closed fist holding a tie. And then we see a guy hanging off a ledge holding a dog, like a cute little white dog. What kind of dog is that? Do you know what kind of dog that is?
I was either a poodle or something like that.
Okay.
Looks like a dog that I might have.
The guy holding the tie, Daisu, says he wants to tell this guy his life story. And then we flash back to a slightly overweight Daisu who's like, well, actually, I get like you get credits at first and you kind of get this piano thing. And then we cut to like this tie being held and it's like this kind of like bolsterous, almost like techno music.
Yeah.
It's really just like pulls you in like, what the hell's going on?
Because yeah, it has like countdown timers like in the credits and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, we get a flashback to a slightly overweight Daisu, which I think he's. I don't know. I don't. I watched this. I kept like rewinding. He's like, because he seems more in shape for the rest of the movie, but I don't know. I'm not sure if he did anything special or they just.
They say he gained and lost about 15 pounds throughout the course of the movie.
Okay.
He was doing different roles, and he also did a heavy workout regimen to become a much different looking guy.
Okay.
But it was basically concurrent, so it's like, oh yeah, this guy really was eating a lot of kale. Lose that much weight that quickly.
Because also I didn't know if like, is this just racism? Are these not even the same people? Or because I know not recognizing the certain features or something like that. But like, no, these are the same people. So yeah, Daisu's waiting to be processed by the police. He's drunk, loud, and he needs to piss. Which I don't think he actually gets to piss here. So he must have.
Yeah, they always stop him, but it's like, well, this guy still needs to piss. And take it from someone who's been that drunk, at least a few occasions in his life, you will just piss. So it seemed kind of weird. It's like, why the police are just stopping him? How are they flying off? What are they doing?
He calms down for a bit when like. I'm guessing like street toughs are put next to him, but then he's like immediately just like goes back to being crazy again. He loses his shirt and then they just cuff him to the wall. Then Daisu gets picked up by his friend. Then they're outside. It's like nighttime. It's raining. They're at a telephone booth, which I wonder if those still exist in South Korea.
I don't know. It seems like this is in 1988.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Probably not.
You think there's anywhere where phone booths or some country that just sticking to the old regimen?
Unless it's like a real controlled country, I don't think so. Because really, cellular communication kind of subverted the real bad, like third world, fourth world type countries.
Yeah.
Because it's actually cheaper to have cell towers than connected lines.
Yeah.
So I doubt there's many left, unless there's some country like, I don't know, like Albania or something where they don't want people talking to the outside world. Maybe they have a lot of them.
Does the UK still have police boxes, or is that only the TARDIS?
I think that's only a TARDIS at this point. I don't know. It could be. They hold on to stuff. But
Yeah. Um. So Daisu calls his daughter and tells her he has a gift for her. The friend Juwan takes over the call. It's the girl's birthday. The camera loses track of Daitsu, and so does Juwan. And then Juwan like kind of hangs up the phone. He's looking for Daitsu, but he can't find him. And we see like a purple umbrella that's kind of like gets like left alone for a bit, and then it walks away and revealing these angel wings that was a gift for Daitsu's daughter.
yeah.
Then we cut to credits and we get like a clock with time passing. Yeah, so like more credits. Like, we got a credit sandwich here. um, we cut to a door slot is opened up. Well, it's like on the bottom of the door. Where Daisu's like begging to be let out, or at least give him a reason why he's locked up. Then we reveal that he's like locked in a hotel room. So it doesn't seem too bad, but it is a prison.
Yeah.
But you know, there's carpet, there's a proper bed, there's TV. so, then we get voiceover, which man, this made me have to like rewind a bunch because like I don't know if you had the problem with this, but it seemed like having voiceover and dialogue, it was like hard to keep up with the subtitles and like write notes at the same time. Because there's just constantly dialogue. Like if there's silence, then there's voiceover. um, the voiceover says, "If they told me it would have been 15 years, would I have been able to endure?" So now you know he's been locked in the. Not, he hasn't been locked up for 15 years at this time, but you know he will be, because he's telling this story to the guy he's holding off the roof right now. So, then we cut to he's like staring at a weird picture of like some scraggly guy with the words, "When you laugh at the world laughs with you. When you weep alone."
Yeah.
Which I forget, is that like a famous saying, or is that just
Yes, that is a very famous saying. I
okay?
forget. I don't know if Mark Twain came up with that. Let me look it up. I should have looked this up.
Yeah, we need Nathan to get into the uh, um, historic writers because I don't know nothing about that stuff. um,
Oh, it's a poet. It's a poem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Laugh in the opening stanza. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. For the sad old earth must borrow its mirth, but has trouble enough of its own. So, oh yeah, this is like a spiritual. Okay. So, okay. Nope, that was that was from a poem called Solitude. So, okay, this makes
okay, all right. But Daitsu also like starts to resemble the picture. He's got scraggly hair. He's got a very creepy smile, a desperate smile.
yeah.
um, then when gas is let into the room, and he just kind of falls asleep, and he even just kind of like comically turns to see the gas, and then turns back, and then just passes out. And here gives a voiceover talking about how it's Valium gas that like we talked about, like the Chechen soldiers tried to use to, but then they end up killing everybody because
they didn't get it right.
People come in and groom Daitsu and like do medical tests or take his blood or do something, but they're keeping him alive. Then we cut to Daitsu who's watching TV and he sees reports about. Okay, this is something I missed out on. Okay, I read it as a report of a missing husband. Okay, that's him. And then like his wife died, but did somebody kill her or did she kill herself?
He was accused of killing her.
He was accused of killing. Okay.
She was found dead and he disappeared.
Okay. That's what I thought. I thought I missed something. I was like, oh, is that what's going on? Because I think later on they say like the statute of limitations like was up on him killing his or being suspected of killing his wife.
I don't think there's a statute of limitations on murder anywhere. Or if there is, it's like that's weird. That's a unique feature of democracy. Excuse me.
But then like, so did the main boss guy, did he kill his wife or that was just random?
No, he killed his wife to frame. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
He wanted him to have nothing.
Okay. Okay. That makes more sense now. Okay.
Yeah.
I was
At
confused.
least that's what I got out of it.
Yeah. I
Not
was.
everything's spelled out in this movie.
No.
There's a lot of cool camera work though, and it's so many different genres at once. It's like,
Yeah.
well, this is confusing, and I'm reading a lot too, so I feel like I have to watch this like 4 times.
Yeah. It's a thriller, comedy, action movie, and a horror movie all in once. Then an ant crawls out of Daisu's arm, like out of his veins.
Yeah, he sees it crawling around under the skin.
Yeah. Then he starts having a mental breakdown where his face is covered with ants and he's screaming. Then we cut to he slits his wrist with pieces of a mirror he broke, and then they just like, again, this is the darkness of the movie. Lots of suicide humor going on. They just like comically drag him out of the room, like don't clean up the blood ever, and then just put him back in there, and it's like no, you can't die. So back to the room for Daisu. He's wondering who's under the purple umbrella, and then he masturbates to some K-pop video, which this song is important, but I don't recognize it, and I think it gets sung later on, but I didn't recognize it necessarily.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on the TV through the passage of time, and a lot of that involved like disasters in Korea, like a bridge collapse.
Yeah.
And one of their former presidents got like put in prison. And there were things that I looked it all up, but it's kind of like, what's a bunch of names I can't pronounce, and a lot of incidents I'm not really familiar with.
Yeah.
I just know that.
But it's supposed to indicate the passage of time as like these different historic events happen.
9/11 makes a brief show. It shows up in there briefly.
Okay.
Because they show the plane slamming into the World Trade Center. And then it goes on to the next thing.
He commits suicide again, but then they just pick him. They just put him right again. Then we see cut to Daisu writes in a journal of all the people he thinks he might have wronged. Because there's just a notebook there, and he thinks, okay, will this solve anything? Because he has, again, nobody's told him anything. He has not been
no one's communicating with him.
He can see TV. I don't even know if he can control the TV or not. I think he kind of can. Or do we see him change the channel, or is he just purely up to like whoever is like changing channels for him?
When he's watching the woman sing the pop song, it's almost like he has his hand on a dial.
Yeah.
An old dial, like analog TV, you can change, but I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Because I guess I'll talk about that later. But and then we cut to Daisu gets a meal, which he always gets the same 3 meals. Like there's just a different breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but it's always the same. Which, like, 15 years, that's also making him go insane.
I mean, this would actually just break your mind. It'd break your mind to be held for a year like this.
Yeah. I like fried wontons, but I don't know about 15 years of it. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of fried dumplings for sure.
Daisu gets a meal with 3 chopsticks, which are like metal chopsticks.
Yeah, I thought that seemed like but there's a lot of things in this movie. It's like I'm picking at it, but it's like, well, this movie's so off the wall. It's like you can't really apply any kind of deep logic to it because it's everything is in service of a story.
Yeah. I mean, I literally have metal chopsticks. I've never seen them before then. So.
Well, I just thought that would be like giving him a weapon.
Yeah.
Or that he could kill himself with.
I was thinking, it's like, oh, he's just gonna kill himself with that. But
it was funny. He got 3 though, and he's like, oh, I pity the poor bastard that has to try to eat with one chop.
But we briefly cut to the outside room where there's a guy sitting in the hallway, so that's where you kind of get an idea of like somewhat of how this prison works, where it's just a hallway or it's basically just like some kind of like, I'm not sure, renovated or reused hotel used by like criminals to like, harbor people for reasons. Because it feels like the main guy is using this as a resource for what he needs, but it also seems that other people have needs for these rooms to hold people hostage. Like, this isn't purely just the main guy doing this. This is like a side business for...
Yeah, this seems to be like something you can do. which I thought was weird. But then, have you ever seen pictures of like the Seoul skyline?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they don't have like building codes like we do, so they can just like pack things in really close.
Yeah.
And they have like really tall buildings with all kinds of, you just warrens of like floors and stuff in them. Because I remember I was watching a video, and this was a long time ago, about people that somebody had to go somewhere and get something done in Korea. Like they were living there, but they were an American, and it's like, oh yeah, I got to get my laptop fixed or whatever. And it's like you just walked into what looked like a building that people would live in, and you just went to this nameless corridor, and there was like a number on the door, and you knocked, and someone opened it. It's like, yeah, I'll fix your computer or whatever. But it's like that. There was like no signs anywhere. Or anything. He said, yeah, they just everything. There's just addresses and numbers.
Huh.
And you just knock on the door, and this looks like a place where families live or something. But no, there's a guy with a bunch of computers in a room. He's just taking them apart. And it's like, whoa, okay. So yeah, it's conceivable you could have like secret prisons, I guess, profit prisons where you just hold on to people.
And I guess I didn't think to look, so I'm guessing this all takes place inside Seoul.
Mhm.
Okay, I didn't realize that necessarily. There are times when they're in different places, but I believe like that's only in like when they have flashbacks to like his school. But then
Yeah, there seems to be flashbacks to the school, and then the scene at the end, I think, is like actually in another country.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, that's in New Zealand.
okay, yeah,
But but as far as I know, it does snow in Korea. So
yeah, it gets really cold there. I mean, I think they're in the same climate belt we are.
Okay.
Like, so they have like full winter and stuff.
Yeah, aren't we talking about? I think we were watching Blacklist. Like, there's something like in Japan too. It's like the middle parts. It's like it's usually like consistent weather, but like if you just go north beyond this one part, it's just all ice essentially, and nobody lives there.
Yeah, in Japan, the someone told me this once. I think it was a Japanese guy. The part of Japan where nobody lives, where it's frozen, is on the same band that Michigan's on.
Okay.
He was like, "It's so weird that you live like this." It's like, what are you talking about? Like, snow on the road and stuff that really freaks some people. I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" It's like, get in the car, drive. We're gonna die. It's like, no, you're not. But not all at once. You know, it takes time. But yeah. I remember someone explained that to me. I was like, wow, that's nuts. Okay.
Why the camera's in the hallway, there's a pounding sound, but then we cut back to reveal Daisu's punching the wall, and he like drew a figure on it. So now he's like training to fight, but like informal training, just purely his imagination and his will to punch the wall. Which I think he breaks his wrist punching the wall, which is
Yes.
that's why you have wrist wraps when you punch a punching bag. It's like
Yeah, he's basically creating hands of death, though.
yeah.
Just like the guys like in the shows where they punch like wooden poles.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, eventually you will just build up calluses and bone spurs to where it's
and destroy all the nerves in your hands and legs so they don't feel pain anymore.
So it's a trade-off.
So yeah, I was like they always talk about like, the manly podcast guys talk about things they either want to do or don't do, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna get into body hardening. It's like, oh, you mean nerve damage? Because I know like there's some, when I was in the Marines, like some of the martial arts we do, like the instructors would talk about their body hardening things, where it's basically they just spend like 2 hours kicking each other in the shins until it stopped hurting.
Yeah.
It's like,
that doesn't mean damage isn't being applied. You don't feel it anymore.
Then Daisu makes some homemade tattoos for the years he's in the room, which he'll get to 15 eventually. Which he's just making like the hash marks.
Yeah.
He starts dismantling parts of the wall with the chopstick that he saved. And we get a split screen where we have like the news over the 15 years, and then we see like Daisu like trying to escape through the wall, which is kind of comical because you see like the brick open up, light shines into this middle hallway where there's another brick wall, and his head just kind of pops through and he looks around. So, But
This
he's
is
not.
part. This is some of the camera work in this movie that I love.
Yeah, yeah.
Like just completely dissociated scenes almost with strange things happening. Very what's that movie I like? Escape from Alcatraz, where they do like the split.
Oh, okay, okay, that makes more sense now. Okay,
Yeah.
because I was trying to think of like some like Guy Ritchie movie or something like that, but yes, I think yeah, Snatch does some stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does feel kind of like Guy Ritchie or Quentin Tarantino like influence, but like doesn't use any of that. It's all original essentially. So
Yeah. No, it's
none of this feels stolen or whatever. And
no,
if
it's its own weird thing.
yeah,
But well, I mean, it does take like great cues in terms of like color balance, cinematography, framing of scenes. It does all the best stuff, but it
yeah,
does all of it. At
yeah,
some point, it fits it all in, which is actually cool because it doesn't feel forced.
yeah, yeah.
It's like we're doing this scene this way now. We're doing this that way. It's like, yeah, why are we going to do the scene from like Escape from Alcatraz? Because he's essentially doing what those guys did, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's showing the passage of time, the very intricate plan comes together. Does it produce fruit? No, we don't know. But yeah, it all becomes important.
And then we have like some time later, and we cut to the outside of the building. It's raining, and Daisu pops a brick on the outside wall, and he's able to feel rain, which he brings in like excitedly and like tastes the rain.
Yeah.
um, then oh yeah, when the gas gets released in the music or in the room, there's like a musical tune that plays, which again I don't know if I'm supposed to recognize that. Like, is that the Samsung washer music or anything like that?
It did kind of, that's why I mentioned earlier that appliances sing to me, because it did sort of remind me of some. I think that the music in this movie, for the time it came out and for the action movies they were doing, is actually unique and cool. I think it would mean something more to me if I was more familiar with the culture it came from.
Yeah, yeah.
But to me, it just seems like, oh, this is like an action movie of that era where everything was kind of like, bass guitars, like no. They're not doing that in this. It's all like, it sounds like some kind of strange operatic theme
Yeah.
or some lighthearted theme. And considering what's going on in the movie, it's like that's totally out of place and jarring. So
he puts his wall back together, and puts the bed in front of it because where he broke the brick wall, which I don't know. Presumably, I don't like. The whole time I'm thinking like, well, they're monitoring this guy, so they have to know he's doing this, so they're just letting him do it. So, because I don't know why you would like keep close eye on somebody and then not put a camera in there, but then they always know when he commits suicide, so like they're watching him. So
yeah, there seems to be like, give him something to do.
yeah.
So eventually this guy's going to figure out a way to kill himself, or we're not going to be able to stop it.
Yeah.
Like he's going to break glass and just swallow it, or something that we can fix with like stitches.
Yeah.
So yeah, let him do that because it occupies him, even though we know he can't go anywhere with it. Or not.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So yeah, he lays in the bed as he gets gassed out, and then a woman comes in and does some hypnotism on Daisu as he's gassed up. And then we cut to a red suitcase in the middle of a field opens up, revealing Daisu, which is a very like comical and cool like camera work. Because it's like, oh, we're on top of a hill. Then it pulls out. It's like, we're on top of a building. And then you're like, oh, we're at the start of the movie.
Yeah, I remember this now.
There's also like some stuff in the case. So, it's like for him.
His books that he wrote.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Is making amends or whatever. So something you do in Alcoholics Anonymous where you apologize to everyone you ever wronged while you were a drunk.
Yeah.
I think that was he's like, maybe if I fill these books with all those I've wronged, they'll let me out. That was his thinking. And it becomes a burden he just carries the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Which is what makes this a great thriller, is like, hey, lock a guy up. And it's like, why? It's like, that's the movie.
Yeah. So what's the explanation? It's like, oh, you don't even want it. At the end, you're sorry. You're like, oh, I solved the riddle. Wow,
Oh yeah,
that's
I guess I should tell you now. Like, we haven't spoiled the movie yet, so like, Oldboy is a very good movie, but you're gonna get to the end of the movie and regret watching it.
yeah,
So,
yeah. You're really gonna like hate people and be glad that like, oh, the format of this movie was so ridiculous. I'm glad no one can actually do this. I hope you'd just be. It's like I'd rather see someone get shot in the head. It's like, well, the suffering's over. You know?
um. Uh. So yeah, we caught up to the opening. The guy with the dog wants to jump off the roof. Uh. He's like telling him not to stop. He's telling Daisu not to stop him. Daisu acts weird towards him because he can't believe he's like interacting with another human being.
Yeah, he's like putting his hand on his face like a person, and he's just like touching this guy's face who's sitting there holding a like a white poodle, trying to like jump off a roof.
Which I also say, Daisu has like he's got like a stylish suit on and like these weird sunglasses, which I got.
Oh, he doesn't get them yet. He gets those in the elevator.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, did he take him from that lady?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Because he wanted to take something from her because he hadn't seen a woman in 15 years, and he
Yeah.
was like a female woman.
But also, it's like he hasn't been out in sunlight in 15 years, so he's gonna need sunglasses.
Yeah.
So yeah, the guy's about to jump off, and then he catches the guy by the tie before he falls off the roof. So this we realize.
And let me tell you, this guy has money because if you have a tie that can support your full body weight, that's a very expensive tie.
Must be like bamboo based or something.
There's something about Asians and suit and tie manufacturing.
Well, silk tie can be pretty. You can do a lot of amazing.
The nice ones, yeah. But there's something about Asians and suits and stuff where they really have got that down to a science.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the Italians still like hold the a high place and like, oh, they make the best suits in the world, but the Asians are like right under them. Like they're about a penny under them, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper.
Yes. But yeah, this is when you realize that like, oh, because at first when you start the movie, it's like, oh, is he throwing this guy off the roof? And you realize, oh, he saved him from falling off the roof. Then Daisu like notices all the new buildings that have been built up because like this is the same area he got abducted from at the phone booth, but now it's like a bunch of high rises all built up. So now he tells the guy, die a little later. So have that been the end of Act 1. Act 2, we cut to Daisu and the guy are like sitting like still on top of the roof, like sitting on like ductwork, and he finishes telling his story to the guy. And then when the guy wants to tell his story about why he's trying to kill himself, Daisu just gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
Which
He
is
doesn't
hilarious.
really know how to interact with people.
And this is where then we cut to Daisu acting weird in the elevator, where we just see like a lady and then like a clawed hand on the wall, and then we kind of like pan over to reveal him like just like holding himself in.
It's like a woman, a feminine woman. And so immediately you know what's like he's just holding himself back.
Yeah.
And she has big weird cat lady sunglasses.
Yeah.
Inside.
And then we cut to him walking out of the building. Now he has the sunglasses. And then he walks by a car, and then the guy like at the roof leaps to his death with the dog. But it's like it's done for comedy that this man just killed himself. But like I don't know if it's a stunt guy, but it's clearly like a stuffed doll, which is more funny somehow.
Yeah, you don't really get the feeling that the dog died, but you did. Like realistically, it would have.
Yeah.
Why you'd take your dog with you to hell, I don't know.
And then we cut to it's night, and Daisu's wandering around the city because he doesn't know what to do, where to go, or where to start. He takes a cigarette from like street toughs, and then they kick him, and then he decides to fight them, which is just him. This is him like kind of like, it's like, well, did all that training I do, where it was just all in my imagination, is that going to lead?
Yeah, you get this like mental thoughts of his. It's like, will the training the made up training pay off?
Yeah.
Imagining being in a fight help you win a fight? And it turns out it's like it does. But you're also going to take a hell of a beating yourself,
Yeah.
because he's like clearly like engaging the people. Like he does this thing where he jumps and like throws his whole body into a punch,
Yeah. He does
and
a
it looks
Superman
really
punch.
cool. But then the guy comes up from behind him and just like hits him like a truck. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, because he's not imagining like how can I fight multiple people. It's just like I'm going to cripple each guy with a debilitating punch. But they're still, their friends are going to attack me,
Yeah.
but not effectively, which
No.
pays off later on in the movie too, because it's like, yeah, people don't, guess what, people don't want to jump and run and attack someone who's beating the hell out of somebody else. Like that's not how people's brains work.
Then we cut to Daitsu's watching some fish in a tank, and then a homeless man gives him a wallet and a phone. This is like, don't talk to me.
Don't you think of asking me any questions. Very weird. It's said like that in subtitles. So.
Yeah. Then Daisu goes into a sushi joint where he says he wants to eat something alive, and then the sushi chef and him like have like deja vu where they're like, do I know you? It's like, do I know you? And then he says something like he saw her on like a cooking show for like
a chef show.
Yeah.
Like it's the youngest sushi chef in Korea. And she was like, yeah, that show didn't work out too well. He's like, yeah, I know. You know, there was some conversation like that. Like they recognize each other. But well, he recognizes her.
Yeah.
But not in the way, you know, like, I know you.
Yeah. Then he says something about like women can't be sushi chefs because their hands are too warm or something like that. So then Daisu gets a phone call, and this is like really kind of like the guy who did this to him is on the other end. He says, do you like the clothes? And he says like he basically like the mission for Daisu is he has to like guess what this man's motive was for imprisoning him. And also Daisu wants to know what the hypnotic suggestion was because he remembers the lady over him with the bell, because that's like the last thing he remembers before emerging from the suitcase. The sushi chef brings out a live squid. Daisu eats it alive, which is a very uncomfortable scene. So,
yeah,
because he just bites the head, and then it's like the tendrils are just like moving around and crawling on his face.
Yeah.
And then she touches his hand, and then he just passes out. Then we cut to he wakes up at Midu's place. That's the sushi chef. She's reading his confession journals, and he grabs them and hides them from her.
Yeah.
I think she also has like a thermometer in his butt because I think he takes it out. Because then it's also revealed that she gave him suppository medicine, which basically like what happened is that because this guy's been in like out of sunlight for 15 years, he's basically like malnourished, and so now he's out in the real world. Now he's getting like a fever. So
yeah.
So that's why he passed out, not necessarily because of any like hypnotic suggestion. She goes to the bathroom with a knife, and then he like runs in and kisses her and gets grabby, like grabs at her panties and stuff. And then she kind of beats him off, and then he like walks out ashamed, which is a very weird scene. But it's like, well, at least nobody got raped. So.
Yeah.
She proposes sex, I think. It's weird. I don't know what's going on in this conversation here. Because then she's like talking about, and then just give it to me, and like makes a punching motion. Is like, is she talking about sex? I'm guessing so.
Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna fight and resist a little bit at first, but just give it to me or whatever. It's a very weird conversation.
Yeah. Which he doesn't accept. So
yeah.
Then she talks about reading about him hallucinating ants, and then she like says that like that's what lonely people do, and then she kind of has like a flashback to her crying on a train and hallucinating a giant ant reading a newspaper on a train. So
very weird. Because I was watching, it's like, am I supposed to be getting something out of this? What does this mean?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a cultural thing too. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what ants mean to Koreans. So. Then we cut to Midu poses as a journalist looking for Daisu's daughter, and then the lady at the counter says that she was adopted by doctors and lost most of her ability to speak Korean. So this is like presuming a bunch of white people adopted her and like took her away to America or something. I'm not sure.
Sweden.
Sweden. Oh, Sweden. Okay.
The number for the on the piece of paper that he finds that says where his daughter went, that is the number for the Korean embassy in Sweden.
Oh, okay. Huh.
I don't know if I didn't call it to find out, but
Yeah.
trivia from the movie.
She gives the address to his daughter and also like where his wife's grave is. Then she's like, "Well, I can go there with you if you want to." But he just takes it and walks off. Then he has like a mini emotional breakdown. They go to eat at a restaurant trying to track down like the source of the. But these fried wontons or what are these? Or
Fried dumplings
fried
is how
dumplings.
it's described to me, but yeah.
That he ate in captivity. Because when he's eating one of them, he finds like a thing that says dragon on it. So now he's looking for a restaurant that says dragon. But that's actually like a misdirect, isn't it? So because he ends up eating everywhere that has fried dumplings to try to
Yeah,
find
it's
the taste.
basically like it becomes more of a like, well, everyone's getting their dumplings from one distributor.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what that is. I need to find the ones that are made that taste this certain way.
Then we cut to Mead who's like talking online with somebody who knows Daisu, which is like this is like 2000 early 2000s. They're doing a video call here, but it's all bad video. But it's
Yeah, it's a little blocky, but yeah.
It works, I guess. Actually, I guess like I'm not sure when they did it, but like South Korea does have like amazing internet. Like they got together and it's like let's just install perfect internet across the entire country. And then
Yeah, because remember we talked about this once before. Everyone bitches about America. It's like, oh, we don't have Korea internet. And it's like, yeah, we're also bigger than Maryland. It's a little more difficult to do that here in Appalachia. You want, 5G through the mountains or whatever.
But yeah, the person she's talking to knows Daisu, and so the mystery grows. Daisu grabs a hammer and heads out, saying he can't trust her, which is a constant theme about him mistrusting her.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Daisu finds the wontons he's looking for, and he runs after a delivery boy, which is just played for comedy. It's like great because he's on a bike or a motor scooter, or what do you call that? Like a Vespa or something?
Yeah, it's like a moped type thing.
Yeah, moped. Yeah, he's just like full force running after it. And then he catches up to the delivery boy, who's just like, "Huh, that's weird." And then he hits like the delivery boy hits like the 7 and 8 button to take him up to a special like in between floor or something like that.
Yeah.
The door opens, the guard acknowledges like the delivery boy, and then the door closes, and then suddenly we cut to Daisu stands over the guard with the hammer, but like claw first. And then there's like a Looney Tunes dotted line drawn from the hammer to the guy's head.
Yeah, it's a very weird scene.
It's great though.
It is. It just again, this is when this movie like becomes something different again. It's like, oh, we doing this now?
And then we see like the guy like kind of like panicking, trying to like reach for a knife in his boot with just his pinky. And then we cut away. Like I don't think we ever see him bury the hammer in this guy's skull, right? Like,
yeah, no, we don't.
Okay, it's great. Yeah.
It leaves you to guess, like, well, what will he and won't he do? What did he not do or say? But we can infer from the line being drawn.
Yeah.
The hammer to the head is like, yeah, this is what happened. I'm just not going to go through the trouble of filming it and then have to cut it out of the movie. So.
Yeah. Then we cut to a room where there's like a bunch of video cameras of other people imprisoned, or video of cameras watching the people in these other rooms. There's a guy like trading stocks, which I called this guy the tooth guy to like the very end of the movie when I found out, oh, his name's Park. I forget his character's name, but his name's Park. He's Mr. Park. So.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought, like, man, I'm reading the subtitles. Like, nobody's saying each other's names except for Daisu. That Daisu and Midu are the only names spoken constantly, and nobody else's names. And when you don't know people and people don't have complete Internet Movie Database profiles, it's hard to pick out who played what.
Yeah. Yeah, it does get difficult.
Daisu ties the guy up and yanks teeth out of his head with a hammer for every year he was locked up. So
yeah.
15 teeth.
Which is a tough scene, especially if you don't like that kind of something about teeth and prying them out of your head.
Yeah.
Like that's particularly, and because you've ever actually had that done, which I have, not with a hammer and not without some kind of painkiller, but it still sucks.
um. So he's asking, who put him up to this, and he says he doesn't know. He got sent like tapes, and so Daisu finds like a cassette tapes, which I don't know if this is special here. Like, it's like the what is that? The purple can that has like the cookies in it. That always gets used as like by grandmas for like sewing equipment.
Yeah, but this had a year on it.
Yeah.
That's was
but inside of this is just a bunch of tapes that the guy was sent over the years, so 15 years of tapes, and so he takes that. Then we cut to Daisu's outside of this room in the middle of the hallway, and he's holding the guy up with like he's got the hammer, but he's got a knife to the guy's throat. So I'm pretty sure this is just the knife from the guy he presumably killed with the hammer, or just injured terribly. Because that's the thing, like Daisu doesn't like. He's not really killing a lot of people in this movie.
yeah, he's not a professional killer.
Yeah.
He's just someone who's been pushed to just such an extreme.
So yeah, he's holding Park up with a knife to his throat, and there's a hallway full of gangsters, which again, this is just played comically. It's like, oh, how's he gonna do it? And then he asks if anyone has AB blood type, and then a couple of people kind of like nervously or confusedly raise their hands, like, yeah, I do. And then he like hands it off to those guys, like he's gonna need the blood transfusion, which is like, that's what makes this like character interesting. It's like when he has a lot of violence, he also shows some mercy, which is like actually what makes this movie work. Is like the mercy that can happen in this movie. That's few and far between, but happening at all is kind of like some of the magic to this movie. And also, I don't know. I know this is something in Japan. I don't know if this is something in Asian culture, but like it's almost like horoscope stuff, but it's with blood type.
Okay.
So like people with the same blood type like try to date each other and things like that.
Huh. Okay. Never heard of that.
Because I never do that, but then there's like stuff where I play Japanese games, and there's like you'll like create a character and they're like, choose your blood type. And I'm like, why does that matter? It's a video game. Nobody has any blood. And it's like, oh, this is something in Japanese culture that's like important that you so like I'm a Pisces. It's like, oh, I'm AB positive. So,
Interesting.
So I don't know if that really connects with the scene at all, but that was like, I remember that was a thing. So say it sends a bloody guy off with the guys with the AB blood type. And now we start. This is a very famous profile hallway one-shot fight.
Yeah.
So like this is like, if you've seen one thing for this movie, it was probably clipped in YouTube, and that's how you saw something from this movie, is this hallway fight. It's also been recreated in a bunch of other movies. I know Daredevil did a version of it that was also very good, but they could get away with it because this movie is, ultimately way less popular than a Daredevil TV show on Netflix. So. Yeah, I love the parts where like they kind of gang up on him, and then he's just beating people's toes with a hammer.
Yeah, when they got him down on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm drawing the scene up because I wanted to. There was something I wanted to. Although there was what I liked about this scene was, it starts off like when he gets into the fight, it's like it's ridiculous. He's fighting everyone in the room. There's no way.
Yeah.
But then you realize like, well, his technique is, once he hits one guy, everyone else kind of backs off, or they're poking at him with sticks.
Yeah.
Because people they're not going to jump into that, because they also could be hit by the guy they're trying to help.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because it's all shot in profile, but like when you see the hallway at first, it's like you got like maybe a 4-foot hallway to work with, so there's not really like, there's not a lot of room to swing.
Yeah.
Which is maybe done to maybe that's better illustrated in the fight in Jack Reacher, which has the same problems, where it's like people with like clubs and stuff trying to swing in a hallway that's only like 4 feet wide, and he uses that to his advantage against guys that are like a foot taller than him. So, um, yeah, but yeah, also these guys just have like, a lot of them just have clubs. And one person has a knife, so because one time they get him down again, and they just stab a knife in his back, which they CG in here. Which the
Yeah.
first time I watched this movie, like I never noticed at all. But again, now because I was watching on a PC monitor, I'm a foot away from it. I was like, oh, that's clearly the CGI, but I don't care. It's totally fine. It's so small that it's like they did this all in one shot. They apparently did 17 takes. Like let them CGI a knife. So.
Well, I do like some of the people in the fight, like that take damage from him earlier. They're still walking at him with limps.
Yeah.
They hit him earlier. It's like they're not healed up.
Yeah. But yeah, eventually he beats up all these guys, and then he gets to the elevator, and there's just an elevator full of people to fight. And then we just comically cut to the ground floor. Elevator opens up, and all the people just fall out of the elevator. And then he just walks out like nothing happened. And there's blood all over inside the elevator. So you're like, wait, what happened? It's like, nah, we don't need to see that. I don't think that's possible. Like a room, a sardine can of people didn't have a fight, but it's fun to imagine that's what happened. Is he won the fight in the sardine can? So.
Yeah, this guy just got done pulling a knife out of his back. So.
Actually, I think he still has the knife in his back.
Oh, I thought he pulled it out before he got in the elevator. Man,
no,
maybe.
no, when he's walking up the parking ramp, that's when he pulls the knife out. That's as he leaves the elevator. I believe so. Yeah, as he walks out of the elevator and then he pulls the knife out of his back. That's what I have in my notes. So, then we have Daisu like walks out of there, but I presumably he has the the tin can with the tapes in it, but I don't know where. he produces it later on, so.
Yeah, I guess he had them, or at least had enough of the pertinent tapes.
Yeah. As Daisu's walking out of there, he's covered in blood, so everyone's looking at him all weird, and then he passes out in a crosswalk covered in blood. A guy in a purple hat helps him out, but it turns out this is the guy who's like in on everything. He's like, oh wait, because he says like, all right, see you, Mr. Daisu, and then he realizes like, oh wait, this is the guy. Then Daisu wakes up at Miru's place. He's like covered in bandages. She's passed out from like applying first aid. We cut to Daisu's listening to the tapes of the boss. And then I don't know, he gets directions from either the tapes or somebody to go to Juwon's internet cafe. And so that's his friend. And so they go to his internet cafe, which Juwon doesn't recognize him for like a moment. And he's like, hey, wait a minute. Like, you disappeared. I know you. And then they go over the tapes together to try to figure out who would do this, but they don't really have anything. It's like there's nothing they can think of that they did terrible to anybody that would demand this kind of retribution.
Yeah, they're actually trying to be like really honest. Like, well, do you think? And it's like, I just can't think of anybody. We're just not these kind of people. I was a drunk and a kind of a bad father. But...
Yeah. Then there's mention of Daisu talking too much from like the boss. And then they find something out about a statute of limitations that's up for Daisu. So I'm not sure if that's for the murder of his wife or some other crime. Like he's like, like, hey, you can't disappear if your wife dies. Like what crime is that? So, presumably he's wanted for murder, but I don't know. They just mention it offhand, and maybe that's not translated correctly. Maybe that was something else.
Yeah, that could be, because it doesn't seem to be being captured is like a motivating by police is like a motivating thing in the story.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, yeah, that's like a known thing, but it's like no one's looking for this guy.
I mean, like in this movie, there is zero police presence.
Yeah,
so.
No, you can do all this crazy shit. Well, someone's running a secret prison.
Yeah.
It's like, kidnapping people and, holding them against their will in the United States. You can get the death penalty for that if you do it bad enough. So, yeah.
Then we cut to Daisu has Midu tied up because he doesn't trust her again. He's looking for username Evergreen because that's who she was talking to on that chat room. Um, Juwon finds the address is like actually next door, so he runs over to that building. He finds a couple guys waiting for him. The tall guy says he has 5 days to figure out why he was taken and then like imprisoned, and then he can come find him. Which this is Lee, Woo Jin Lee. I'll just be calling him Lee from now on because that's easier. He says if he passes the test, he says that Lee says that he'll kill himself instead of Midu, and because he also says he'll kill every woman that he loves until he dies. So it's like that's the stakes going on here. So Daisu is like about to kill him, but he still needs to know why this guy did it, and then Daisu's about to torture him, but Lee says he has like a bad heart and he could die, and he like reveals he has a chest scar, which I don't know if we get to the end of the movie, like I don't know if any of that was true. I don't know what's going on here, because he says he has some artificial heart and he paid the doctor extra to put a kill switch in his heart.
Yeah. That's like, where the movie like, oh, is this science fiction now?
Yeah.
It's like, what genre are we getting into here?
Then Daisu runs back to Midu because he talks about like he left the door open, and she's being held up by the Parks gang because he came to get revenge, and you see he has like gold teeth now. Like they have her shirt ripped open, so her breasts are hanging out. One guy's Park is fondling it, so it's like, oh, this isn't good. And then Daisu is about to get his tooth ripped out by the guy. By Park when Park gets a phone call. Well, actually, Daisu starts laughing at him. It's like, yeah, go ahead, give me pain. And then the guy stops, gets a phone call, and then Mr. Han is at the door. This is like the white-haired guy that's like Lee's like henchman or whatever. He has a bunch of money, and so the guy takes the money and just leaves. It's like, yeah, that's the amount of money I need to give up revenge. So, then Daisu swears to cut his hand off as Park leaves. Then we cut to like Lee goes back to his business. I don't know what he does. There's like some meat cutting sound in the background, and then we just kind of cut away. I don't know. Do you have any idea what you think this guy does? Do you think he's just like some kind of stock trader, or like what his business is? Is it all inherited wealth?
Well, from the movie, it seems like they went to a public school.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, because, well, I mean, spoilers, we're getting ahead, but yeah, it doesn't seem, it seems like he is someone who is very intelligent, has a lot of self-possession, and possesses the ability to do very, very long-term interesting. So yeah, he could literally be anything. He's just basically the rich evil.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Because I know in Korea, like class consciousness and having low and high status is like super important. Okay. And a lot of it nowadays is based on the job you have.
Yeah.
And how, and it's not just money, but also how educated you are and what kind of job you have. And so that's like,
well, I know it's like that's also a thing in Japan, but I thought it was less so in Korea, or is it just different in Korea?
Korea is the most accessible Asia to white Americans.
Yeah.
Because I've dealt with a lot of people from all these different countries, and I find Koreans to be the most relatable and charming.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to talk, because the weird stuff I like to talk about, like even people understand the language. It's like, let's not just talk about World War II, Nathan, or whatever. But Koreans, however, very relatable. It's like, oh yeah, I know about that. My father did this. And there's like, oh, we're having a normal conversation, not someone who's like kind of got a stick up their ass. Like, I don't know what you're saying or why you're saying it, but it means something different. It's like, no, it doesn't. There's no such thing as something here. But, okay. So yeah, I think Korea is just more accessible, maybe, is my opinion.
Yeah.
Take on it.
Then we cut to Daisu's driving Midu around while she cries. And then she starts singing the song I think that he's obsessed with and that's stuck in his head. Which again, I'm not sure if this does anything to him or just a callback or whatever. I feel like I'm missing something for this scene because it kind of just happens and goes away.
It could be, but how I interpret it is this guy has just endured the most psychological damaging thing you could
Yeah.
being just held as a captive for that long. And then when you finally get out, you're basically thrust into insane levels of violence. Like, you got to think psychologically, like this guy's not,
Yeah.
he can't be like objective and outside himself. Like, it's like, well, yeah, I should be doing this. He's completely out of his mind.
Then we cut to Mr. Hand gives an update as Lee watches footage of Daisu's imprisonment. Like he lays down and it's projected on the ceiling. He just sits there and watches it. At least I think that's Daisu. It's not like a new guy, right? It's like
I believe it's Daiso because
okay.
it seems like Woo Jin Lee's thing is this guy. He's
Yeah,
vectored on
yeah,
this guy, so he's reliving the experience over and over of his imprisonment.
yeah. Which gives him great joy. So
Yeah, he is a definitely a sociopath.
Daisu and Midu like run away because they feel like I don't think we can solve it in time, so let's just get out of here. They have sex in a hotel room, and then afterwards he's like blow drying her hair. Then the gas gets released into the room, and they pass out, and they're like laid in the bed, and then like Lee gets in the bed too and watches over them with a gas mask. It's like extra creepy, but this just shows like they can't escape him.
Yeah,
Um,
he is omnipresent.
then we cut to Daisu and Midu awake to a purple box that has the tooth guy's hand or Mr. Park's hand in it. So it's like, oh, so he made him a promise. It's like, here's the hand. They go to an electronics store to like to like find a tracker on him, which is kind of fun because he just like walks in, holds up a note, says, "There's a tracker on me. I can't talk," or something like that. And then they run a wand all over all his clothes, and it's like hidden in his shoe. Which I think there's more than one, but like it ends up not mattering. It just doesn't matter what they do. That like Lee will be able to find them. So, they go to Zhuwan's internet cafe. Midu's reading off names of places related to the word evergreen. And then Daisu and Zhuwan they get alarmed by evergreen Oldboys, and it's like, oh, that's our old high school. And so they start clicking on an alumni page for the high school. Then we cut to they actually go to the school. Which is this school in Seoul or is this in a different city? The Evergreen Old Boys School.
I couldn't tell.
Because I know there's like when we have a flashback that's about to come up where it's young Daisu, it's like he's smoking. He says, "It doesn't matter. I'm about to be transferred to Seoul anyways."
Yeah,
So I think this is like a different town, and then he's moving to Seoul after this, like basically almost immediately after what happens here. But yeah, they go to a little school looking for the records of 1979 when Daisu graduated. Daisu finds Lee in the yearbook, and then also like show Sue Ali, which is his sister. Well, actually, like she's not in there. That's why they've noticed that she's missing from the yearbook because like her face is scratched out. Which I'm guessing because they say she jumped off a dam and drowned. So because it's a suspected suicide, I'm guessing they just like did they intend? Was this something done afterwards, or did like the school intentionally like keep her face out of it because of like she died under mysterious circumstances?
I'm not sure how it would work,
Okay,
but that could be.
I don't think I've had any classmate die and they had to take them out of a yearbook, so I don't know about that.
Yeah, suicide not nearly as common here as in other places.
Yeah.
Well, didn't used to be. I don't know anymore.
Then Juwon talks about her reputation for being a slut. Like that's what he remembers, at least the rumors about her. And he keeps making crude remarks. And then we have Lee is being revealed to be like listening, like at an internet at a different like computer station. And then upon hearing that, he seems like worried, and then he ejects a CD from the computer, breaks it in half, and then just stabs Juwon to death while he's on the phone with Daisu. And Lee gets on the headset to talk to Daisu and says she wasn't a slut, and then and that she died because of Daisu. So that's like, okay, one more clue. It's something about a sister. And then we cut to Lee is like doing calisthenics and crying while listening to tapes. This is where he does the weird like he like folds up his legs like into the sky. It's like I'm like, man, is that guy doing that, or they just attach his legs to some screen? That's a string because that looks weird.
Yeah, it did. It was kind of unusual scene.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were trying to uh, communicate with that. It was kind of
Yeah.
lost on me.
Then we have Daisu. We cut to Daisu like freaking out in the car because his friend just died. And then Daisu goes to the dentist to find uh, the dentist that worked on Park's teeth to give him new gold teeth. And then they end up at Daisu's like prison room, and Park seems like content with this new prosthetic hand because like basically every time he loses a body part, he just gets more money. So it's like, yeah, this works out. So. Which Daisu thinks like that's, well, this guy's tortured him, so he's going to be on my side, but he kind of remains in the middle the entire time. He's like, whoever pays me, I'm going to do whatever they tell me to. So, Daisu gives the ring back. I'm guessing. I don't know, was that like his like something? Is that like his wedding ring or something? It seems to be important to Park, that ring, but I'm not sure what the hell it is.
I took it as a wedding ring.
Okay, almost looks like the Green Lantern ring, doesn't it? It's like it's got like a green, like emerald on it or something. No, not really an
Seems
emerald.
to be jade.
Okay.
Almost.
Daisu works out a deal to lock up Midu in the room till July 5th, and if he doesn't return, like they'll let her out. Then they walk him out in a blindfold, which I'm not sure why they do that, unless this is just a new place, a new prison. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't.
I feel like I missed something there. Then we cut to Daisu goes to hair salon to talk about Lee's sister, which is another funny scene because he's kind of like keeps staring at her knees and being creepy, but then he also had just like that weird bonnet thing on his head, and he just like stares forward. He's got a black eye. But this like hair salon lady's like trying to remember Lee's sister. She suggests that she may have been pregnant. Then this lady gets on a phone with a friend who says Juwan would know, which like, well, that's unfortunate because he's dead now. Then we get lots of knee stuff going on, and then we cut to a flashback where Daisu's in high school. He's like hanging upside down and smokes and watches a girl ride a bike, which like a nun comes up and tells him to stop smoking. He's like, I don't care, I'm being transferred to Seoul and like tomorrow, and then she just bops him on the head with a Bible or something.
Yeah.
The girl sits down on a bench, and Daisu like does some exercises around her to try to like impress her. She's reading a Sylvia Plath book. I don't know if that means anything or not, but I don't even think I know who Sylvia Plath is. So.
Yeah, she. What was her famous book? I can't remember. Let me look it up.
Yeah, I don't even think I wrote down what the book was. Just
well, she's another poet.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
What they call a confessional poet. I'm not going to read a Wikipedia entry.
All right. So yeah, she talks about to Daisu's like she like about his reputation of being a joker. So she asks him to tell a joke. He starts to tell a joke, but then she just leaves suddenly in the middle of it. And then we cut to Daisu like graffitis a chalkboard, like with some swear words on it. Then he sees the girl and then follows after her. He sees her through a window where a guy's taking pictures of her. And then he stops taking pictures of her. He kneels down and takes her panties off. And she like pushes him away as he like unbuttons her blouse. But then she starts unbuttoning her blouse. And then he licks her breast. And then she grabs a hand mirror to like watch this happen to herself. It's like, well, that's weird. And then they notice Daisu watching, which he runs off. Which I don't know if they. Well, I guess they have. I don't know how they know it's Daisu, but I guess they would maybe. But then Daisu and Juwon are carrying stuff, and Daisu's talking about like what he saw, but he didn't know who the girl was, just that she rode a red bike. And then Juwon leaves suddenly, and Daisu says like, "You're dead if you tell anyone," which what Juwon knows is like, "Oh, that's Lee," and he's like having sex with his sister. Like, that's gross. Let's tell everybody. So that's what's going on there. And then we cut to Daisu is back at the hotel prison thing, and he's talking with Midu, explaining the situation. And he says July 5th is when Lee's sister killed herself. So he's got to figure out if he wants revenge or not. He embraces Midu before heading off for revenge. So that's the end of Act 2. We got Act 3. Daisu's in an elevator, like trying to guess a code to get to the penthouse or something. Which it seems like they kind of like build it up here. It's like, oh man, what's it gonna be? And then and then Lee and Mr. Hand just walk in and like hit the button and they go to the room. So I'm not sure if that's a misdirect or just a joke. I don't know. It's also, Mr. Hand gives a derringer to Lee, like in a wrapped up paper newspaper.
Yeah.
And then Daisu's like, "You slept with your sister," like, and then Lee's like, "Yeah, let's go up and talk." They go up to the penthouse, and then Lee sicks some of his guards on Daisu, which here's where definitely Daisu's killing people. And they show a scene of a toothbrush earlier. Then they show here's the toothbrush. He breaks it in half and just stabs these guys to death with a toothbrush. So, very prison.
Oh yeah.
He gets to Mr. Han, who he's about to fight, but then Mr. Han just like, let's talk it out. Lee takes a shower, which is just a shower in this big open room. It's weird. And Daisu explains the memory he forgot about, like Lee and his sister. But Daisu thinks Lee made him forget about it on purpose, and then Lee just suggests that, like, no, you just forgot because it wasn't important to you, but it was like very important to me. So that's like, okay, that's the revenge. Lee explains how the rumor of him and his sister started to take root, and then she became pregnant. But I read a Wikipedia entry about this that said like it was a false pregnancy, so I didn't consider that. But I don't know what you got about it out of it while watching this. I felt like
I just thought it was. I just thought she was pregnant.
Okay. I hear also like Lee says Daisu got her pregnant with his tongue, which is like,
yeah, that's weird.
I guess will be important later on. So, yeah. Daisu suggests Lee killed his sister because he took the photo of her on July 5th at the dam, and there's literally a bunch of pictures on the wall of his sister, and he's like picking him off. Is like, this is what happened. He's like almost like a weird investigation going on. But then like Lee just like reveals what's actually going on. So it's like for a moment it seems like Daisu's like actually solving the mystery, but then it's just revealed that like, no, it's not what you think it is, like every moment. So. And then Lee starts talking about like post-hypnotic suggestion, and then we see a shot of Midu's suitcase with the angel wings in it. And then he also explains hypnotizing Midu. And so like, and then Lee says like, you've been asking the wrong questions, because it's not like why did I imprison you, but like why did I let you go? And then Lee starts pointing a green laser everywhere, which is weird. There's like a bunch of like old camera stuff too, and then but he ends up on another purple box, and inside the box Daisu goes to look at it, and it's a family album of Daisu, shows him, his wife, and his daughter, and then it just keeps going on, and it's like it's his daughter growing up, and it just reveals like, oh, Midu is his daughter, so he just slept with his daughter. So it's like, well, that's not good.
Yes, this could be a problem. Story has now taken a dark twist. Yeah. It's like the main evil guy. It's like, well, you're a gross incest guy. And it's like, yes, and now the burden is laid on you. Oh, okay.
Daisu charges at Lee with some scissors, but Mr. Han keeps throwing him around like onto glass, and it keeps breaking. Eventually, he just like throws him against one of the exterior windows, and he bounces off of it, but then the window breaks. Which I thought this would be more important, like something would fly out the window, but nothing ever does.
No, it just was a weird scene.
Yeah. Then Han gets stabbed in the ear with one of the scissors, and then he like can't hear as he keeps fighting, because like Lee's trying to tell Mr. Han to stop fighting, and then because he's not listening to him or can't listen to him, Lee just walks up and shoots Mr. Han in the head. Like nothing. Like it's like, oh well. So,
this isn't part of the plan.
Yeah, he's mostly annoyed that he gets blood in his eyes from the gunshots.
Yeah.
Daisu wants to know if Midu knows, and Lee says uh, he's using using Park to hide Midu was like another setup. Like he expected this to happen, so now he's about to tell Midu what's going on. Park gets a phone call. He's sitting right in front of Midu with the purple box. He hands it to Midu, and she starts like staring at the purple box. And Daisu starts begging her not to open it. And then he's using the same phrases he used on the first call in the movie, where he's calling her a sweet pea and like being a good girl and stuff like that. Um, and so and then Daisu begs Lee not to let her know. Lee starts. It seems like he's crying, but it's just revealed he's just laughing into a handkerchief. And then Daisu starts acting like a dog and like licking his shoes and stuff like that. And then Daisu grabs the scissors and cuts off his tongue.
Yeah,
So
which is actually an extended scene, which
yeah,
is kind of a weird one, but yeah.
yeah, but they deliberately focus not on the mouth but just on the hands and the scissors,
Yeah.
so you don't see it. Yeah, this isn't like Ichi the Killer. So, um, uh, he continues to beg while he's just basically coughing up blood everywhere. Lee tells so yeah, this actually gets to him, and so Lee tells Park to leave the box closed. Um, and then Lee says, "Now what joy will I live for?" And then he puts the Derringer to Daisu's head, but he can't kill him because it's just too pathetic, or whatever reason. So, and then Lee leaves the kill switch for Daisu, but then he immediately grabs it and presses the button, and it doesn't do anything except it starts plays audio when Daisu and Midu are having sex, which is like just I guess more humiliating now. And then just Lee leaves in the elevator. He has a flashback of his sister at the time they're at the dam, and he's like, "This is like mirroring the opening scene where it's like somebody trying to kill themselves and the other person like holding on to them." But here it's like you realize because also we before it's suggested that Lee Daisu suggests that Lee killed his sister because of look bad on him, but here it's revealed that like he's stopping his sister from killing herself. But then he eventually just lets go as she like keeps saying like it's like I'm okay with this and stuff like it's just very sad and weird. So and also it's like the last time he has emotions because in the scene he's just crying the whole time, and then we cut back to him in current time. It's like no emotions. Yeah, he eventually lets go, and then we cut to suddenly the elevator opens up, and then just Lee shoots himself in the head. Elevator closed, so that's done with. So.
Yeah.
um. Then we cut to Daiso has a voiceover, and it's like narrating a letter he wrote to a hypnotist. Then it cuts to them; they're in the middle of snowy woods. She warns them the hypnotism might mess him up. It's like, well, I guess not more than he already has. She goes through a routine. He imagines himself in Lee's pit house, and like he sees himself in like the glass, on the wall, and it kind of like she like says like his mind split. So like he walks away, and then there's the vision of him in the glass stays there, and so she says like one knows the truth and the other one doesn't. And then the bell ringing is like a trigger, like or something, whatever, to wake up. Daisu wakes up in the middle of Snowfield alone, and then Midu makes her way over to him. She cries and asks what's wrong with him, and then she asks like who you're with, and they like look at the footsteps like behind him. Midu says she loves him, and then they like kind of pan over to Daisu like as they're hugging, like he smiles his creepy teethy smile, and then he starts to cry. So it's like here he's like he's laughing and crying, so it's like that poster. He's like
Yeah, he just became the poster.
he's doing both, and neither are working. So, he's weeping together and he's crying alone, or he's laughing alone. So, and credits. So it's like, which I have. This is only the second time I watched this movie. I thought I remembered they were both being hypnotized in this scene. And I thought they basically did that so they could walk away. It's like, well, now we're going to have a relationship now that we no longer know that we're a father and daughter. But here, I guess it's more ambiguous as to like what their future is. It's like, did he just get his mind erased so he could have a relationship with his daughter, or just so he can never know that again? Because she doesn't know. As far as we know, she's never told any of this. So
No.
um,
I think he wants to just continue to stay with her, but he just wants that erased.
yeah,
Which is like also disgusting and
Yeah,
weird.
yes, that's it. Um, but yeah, like I said, yeah, you're gonna. There's a really cool, stylish movie, and then you get to hear it's like, oh Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I regret this.
But it's still a fantastic movie. It's
Yeah,
just a crazy movie.
it's a bleak. Yeah, it's an unusually bleak movie at the end, especially.
But it does have like levity in it and like humor and like compassion.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of things. Which they did a remake of this in 2013 with Spike Lee, American movie with like
Josh
Josh
Brolin.
Brolin and and one of the Olsons, the non-twin Olsen.
Oh, okay.
Is that Ashley? No, no, Ashley and Kate. Well, who's the other one? Who's the good Olsen?
I don't know. What is it with that?
Elizabeth Olsen.
What is it with Ashley and Kate? They're just anorexics.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's the way they look. I don't know. Their sister seems normal, so. But again, like their sister didn't grow up being like millionaires at the age 7, so you know.
Yeah, that makes it kind of weird.
But you figure it's like, oh shit, are they gonna actually make this movie in America? And like, well, they can't do this ending, right? Like, there's no way they're gonna do that. But like, they do the thing that like, it's his daughter the whole time, and he sleeps with her. But then they cowered out at the end. They don't have like what makes this movie extra devastating is like the hypnotism to essentially stay in a relationship with his daughter, so he just doesn't know the bad part about it. And then they do it different, and they cowered out in the American version where he just goes back. He like pays people in diamonds, but it's actually like Mr. Park is now Samuel L. Jackson. He's got a white mohawk, and it's extra weird. And
Oh,
so he pays him to like keep him in prison for the rest of his life, and he tells her to like go away and forget about him. It's like, oh, okay, so you're gonna take the really bad part but not go the extra bad part and cower it out. But also the thing that makes it bad is that there's no levity in the American version. It's extra brutal because he's clearly killing people and throughout the entire movie, where it's like here he only kills like people towards the end. It's and they
yeah, 'cause the hammer scene in the 2013 movie, he's hitting people in the face, in the forehead with the with the claw.
they show him burying the claw into the guy's head, which that's Malik Remy. He does that too.
Oh,
or,
okay.
or Remy Malik, yeah. And then they do have the corridor fight, which is like somehow more ambitious and worse.
Yeah.
Like it's just more. And then they add a level to it because he like climbs down and then has another hallway fight, and then it's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a hard movie to remake, but then they just somehow take all the wrong turns, and it doesn't even seem stylish. It just seems like brutal and um like uncreative in some way. And like,
Yeah, this movie seems to have like what I would call, because one thing I noticed in this movie is just not only how it's shot, but this dark color scheme.
yeah,
It has this green, sickly green, almost overcast to everything, even shots in day.
yeah,
I see everything seems green, whereas the 2013 Oldboy, its color cues are like chrome and blue.
yeah,
It looks very Matrix like, almost kind of that
yeah.
color palette. And so it just takes you out of, because this movie makes you feel vaguely disturbed and ill
Yeah.
the whole time. And I think it's because everything's dirty and gross and everything has a hue to it that's like a green blue hue. Whereas
But
like Old Boy from 2013 is just, you know,
well, also like the 2013 one just starts wrong, because this one starts with he's holding a guy by a tie and he's about to fall off the roof, and then you get like that kind of like techno music where it's like, oh, we're starting strong, and then it's like, we just started with a mystery. What's that mystery? And we're gonna solve it. This one just starts very bland. He's just kind of, it shows what an asshole he is. Like
yeah.
he's trying to sleep with his boss's wife, like out in the open, and then he's stolen away. And then we're like 15 minutes into the movie, and like you already know you don't like him because he's like cheating on his wife and stuff like that, and trying to do it with his boss's like wife, and then yeah, it's just like it just misses everything about this movie that made it good. And, like again, it's too brutal and there's no levity to it, so it's just a slog to watch. So, but yeah, I should probably, I kind of, I don't think, um, Spike Lee did a commentary on it because I'd like to know. Like, they probably just got hired in at the last moment. It's like, sure, I'll shoot it, and then
Yeah.
and then just did a mercenary job on it because it doesn't. Because yeah, it doesn't even feel like a Spike Lee movie necessarily.
Not the complete Spike Lee joint.
Yeah,
Or okay.
yeah, because usually Spike Lee movies are like more psychological, and this is somehow less when you're doing a psychological thriller. So, although the one that the interesting thing I think they did more here is like they took out in the 2013 they took out all the hypnotism stuff, and it's purely like him being manipulated by the TV because they control everything he's shown. And so that's actually a bit more interesting. It's like, oh, okay, so this is about like media diet and what it does to somebody who has no objectivity towards what he's seeing. And he just has to believe what he sees and being shown towards him. And then, oh yeah, is the bad guy like Chartel Copley, which is like, I think it might be, or it's just some weird French guy. I can't remember.
No, it's Charlton Copley.
Okay. But yeah, it's just a disappointing movie, so you don't need to see it. I always heard bad things about it, so I did a scrub watch of it this time just to like make
Yeah,
sure.
I did a comparative watch just to see. It's like, come on, it's Spike Lee. It gotta be cool, but it's like, I mean, it would have been cool if it wasn't like, it would have been like a bad action movie if it wasn't connected to like something that's considered one of the 100 greatest films. It's like you're really getting the hell beat out of you falling out of that tree. So
yeah. But yeah, that's Oldboy. It's well, we've definitely spoiled it by now, so now you know like you know whether you want to watch it or not. So,
yeah, and if you want to watch this, just read Sophocles, read the Thebes. What is it? The Thebes trilogy or whatever.
I don't know what that is.
Oedipus.
Oh,
Rex.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Oedipus Rex. Okay.
yeah. This is because basically it's the same kind of thing. It's like this guy Oedipus he's the son of a king and queen. He's kidnapped, and the gods tell the shepherd, kill the boy. He must not sit on the throne. And the shepherd just takes the baby and feels sorry for him and lets him go. And then he's I forget, he becomes this great man, but he has to answer the Sphinx's riddle. And it's like, if you can answer my riddle, you'll become the king of well, first the Oracle of Delphi tells him he's going to kill his father and marry his mother and sire children with her. And he's like, well, that's gross. But he thinks his parents are other people.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know he's the son of the king and queen of Thebes. So he's like, I better get out of here because I don't want to murder my dad and have children with my mother. And so then he answers this riddle of the Sphinx, and he's like, oh, you're now the king of Thebes, and you get to marry his wife. And he's like, cool. He doesn't realize that's his mom and dad.
Yeah.
And then when he finds out, of course, it all ends in sadness. That's what becomes the Oedipus complex, though, is lusting after, in this case, in the case of the story, your mother, but basically it becomes a metaphor for incest.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's the people that committed the incest in both this and that, like they didn't know.
Yeah, yeah.
And but also once
but Lee knew, and he didn't want to be shamed for it because he's a rich and powerful person. So.
Well, Lee's like the Sphinx or the monster.
Yeah.
Because he's like, no one really has the kind of self-possession to do the kind of things he did over an extended period of time. And it's like, well, you know what it feels like now. I guess I'll blow my brains out in the elevator. The circle is complete. That's so yeah, it ties really closely to Oedipus. I mean, everyone is related to that in a way, in a retelling of the story.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's about like accidental incest and the crime against your heart that is. But then again, how you deal with it is like, well, just erase. We'll just go like, what was that? Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Just get that out of here, and I'll just fall in love with my daughter because I won't know. Which is also like a grotesque and sad
Yeah.
compromise, broken man. So it's like, yeah, I sure love this movie.
It's one of those movies like, oh, this is where it starts. Where's it gonna end? Like, not where you expect it to be. I mean,
Yeah, not where you want it to.
this might as well be an M. Night Shyamalan movie for like,
Yeah,
it's got a
yeah,
twist
get
in
ready for the twist, the worst, ever, the twist of the knife.
Um, yeah, nobody uses any guns in this movie. Oh no, just one gun is used, the Derringer.
Yeah.
So
Only the rich man has guns.
yeah,
I don't know. Can you have guns in Korea? Probably not.
I think so, but like I don't.
Probably not like here.
Yeah, it's probably just like cops and stuff. But I don't know. It could be like one of those like Israeli situations where it's like everybody has to do service, and so like everybody actually has like a gun locked up in their house somewhere.
Yeah, that could be. Probably not doing the stuff we were doing in Iowa a couple weeks ago.
No, but that's like Switzerland has that where it's like is it Switzerland or somebody, one of those nations, it's compulsory or you have to join service, and so like everybody has a rifle at their house, but nobody has any ammunition. That's just at the rifle range.
Which actually makes sense because it's actually easier to store ammo in bulk than it is rifles in bulk.
Yeah.
So,
that's always thinking it's like, oh, it's one of these European countries that have like archaic gun laws where nobody can have any freedom. It's like, well, actually, everyone has a gun, just nobody has any ammo. So
yeah.
And actually, everyone's a really good shot because everyone has to train to shoot in case they get invaded by some Germans or something. So.
Well, I was like the story about whose family was it? Mitt Romney. You know why his dad never ran for president?
No.
Because he was born in Mexico.
Huh. Okay.
Now Mitt Romney wasn't. He was born in Utah, but or somewhere, maybe Michigan. I'm not sure because his dad was the governor of Michigan.
Oh,
but
okay.
he couldn't go any further than that. That's
Yeah.
why he became the president of like American Motors or something, because he was born in another country. But the reason they lived in Mexico was because they could practice polygamy.
Oh, okay.
So because Mexico doesn't care.
Yeah.
So they're all technically Mexicans, but they don't speak Spanish and they live in they live in Mormon compounds in Mexico.
Huh.
Well, in Mexico, you can't own guns unless you belong to a shooting club.
Okay.
You can have all the gun. I mean, you can have. I mean, you can't have like guns like we have, but you can have rifles and stuff.
Yeah.
So they just started their own shooting club because they were all rich Mormons from the United States who were just having all their kids in Mexico because they could practice polygamy. Well, of course, the Mexicans are like, well, we're just going to rob these people and kill them. So they just had a gun club and they would just like stand up in towers and shoot people that were trying to raid their compounds. It's like, that was going on like the 60s or 50s or whatever. So,
yeah.
But it's like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to live like this just so, I mean, it's like you can have sex with multiple women, you just can't say it's marriage in America.
I get to have sex with 5 women and shoot foreigners.
Yeah. Who actually are my countrymen.
Yeah.
Or I'm actually a Mexican, but I'm shooting other Mexicans. And it's like, well, this is weird. But I'm as white as the snow. It's like, huh, okay. But yeah, that was
some MAGA people creaming their jeans right now. It's like, I want this for America.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's like you're just following your penis to your doom.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to live in a Cormac McCarthy novel. I can have sex with like 5 different women who are also marginally attractive and not that interesting. It's not like 5 lusty queens. It's always like someone in a dress who says thee and thou too much. It's like, this is not exciting, but yeah.
Well, this one's pregnant. On to the next one.
Yeah. I'm not interested in her anymore.
Yeah, so we're sending a probe into space containing the supercut of scenes from the imperfect collection of movies that is the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what one scene from Oldboy are we shoving into space?
Well, we're going to have to send the hallway hammer fight.
Okay, that's what I figured.
That's what led us to watch this movie, which is really cool and powerful and very sad at the end. I mean, literally, even though it involves only a handful of people, like probably sadder than Schindler's List, if you will, because it just well, at Schindler's List, you know the story, but
Yeah.
it's like what an ending.
You know what's coming in Schindler's List. You know
Yeah,
sadness is coming in Schindler's List.
yeah, but it's like still the impact of the end of this is just it's devastating.
Yeah.
It's like this guy came through so much, and he's like, I'm just willing, just dash my eyes out so I can continue to live this way because it's all I got left.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's horrible. Because if you take 15 years from somebody's life, you've taken, like anywhere from 25 to 40% of their life, depending on how long they're going to live. And it's like, yeah, I'd rather live the rest of my life with my, just blind to my horrible sin, like completely awful thing. And it's like, wow, that's a gut punch of a movie.
Yeah, which in the 2013 Oldboy, they make it 20 years. So I'm not sure if that's just to make her older or what reason they chose for that. They just, or if just Josh Brolin was older. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Josh Brolin's he's aged with us on screen. Josh Brolin looked the age he does now when he was 25, though. I'm saying he always looks the same age.
Goonies, always the same.
Yeah, he's always the same guy from Goonies.
Did you ever watch his Amazon like weird like was it called Outer Range show?
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
It's a complete waste of your time, but it's cool.
Oh,
It's
okay.
one of
Yeah,
those.
like some of the advertisement for it like makes it seem cool, and then but I hear bad things about it, so then I never watched it. So.
No, it's bad, but it's like, yeah, if you're painting, if you're doing
Well,
art,
is it like is it like Reacher bad where it's like this is actually awesome even though it's like bad?
no, it's like weird bad.
Okay.
It's like we're just gonna throw so much shit at the wall, but Josh Brolin is gonna be a cool cowboy all the way through it and react like a cowboy would, even though he obviously there's a subtext to his behavior and he seems to know a lot more than what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's still gonna be this guy all the way through it.
Okay.
And it's just nuts. I mean, like I said, look, if you're doing applique armor on a Soviet tank from World War II, have it running in the background and look up occasionally like, wow, that's weird. Okay. It's fine. It's not something I would be like, gather the family around. We're going to discuss this. It's like, no, it's too weird.
Yeah,
and it's not cool weird like Twin Peaks.
Okay.
David Lynch weird where it's like, I'm just going to watch. I have to be drunk to watch this. That's when it makes the most sense.
But yeah, Oldboy. There's a bunch of South Korean cinema out there, and that's pretty good. So catch it. So
yeah, watch the President's Last Bang though. Really watch that.
Yeah, that's a great movie. That
spoke to my soul in a way. That it's like, yeah, this is really what it's like at the top. Okay.
Well, that's what I think. I did a review of it for one of my film classes, and I said it. Actually, what it does best is that like it's about assassination of a president, which is a very serious topic, but they make it very awkward and weird. It's like, yes, because that's how really would happen. It's like it's not like this precision, like we raided the place and we planned this. It was like spur of the moment. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, and it shows that people are thinking about. It's like, we're just gonna kill someone, huh? Yeah, we're gonna do this, and it's like, and they're gonna scream, and it's not gonna be clean, and then it's like, how are we gonna deal with this? It's like, well, just go ahead and do it. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this is how it goes.
I last time I knew that was one hard to find, but like I looked for, I think we had to like rent it from Netflix when they still did that.
It's like I can buy a DVD copy of it for like $54 here in a month, and there's scenes cut out of it. I've heard. I don't know, because guess what? The South Korean government not too real rah about that movie.
Well, apparently you can buy it on Apple TV Plus, and then it's streaming on some place called Kakoa.
Okay.
Which I'm guessing is some Korean streaming service. But you can get it on Apple. But I remember it was hard to find when we watched it last time. But
It was
It,
worth it. It's
yeah,
cool.
it's something to seek out. I remember comparing it to like this is like a Kubrick movie that never happened. That's how
Yeah,
high on it I was.
exactly. Yeah, it's one of my like I have a lot of these top 10 lists, but like political violence movie, I would put this up there with like JFK. It's
Yeah.
good, but it's cool. It's like, oh, okay, we're not the only screwed up country in the world. Good. Other people are also doing it bad.
And of course, yeah, like the later ones, yeah, Parasites out there, which I guess again, which is about people who are down in their luck because of medical bills and education bills, and that's what that whole impetus of that movie's about. So
Yeah, well, that movie's all about that whole like class system I was talking
yeah,
about, where it's they call it status. Some Asians call it face. It's like, oh, you're just low status people. Um,
and then of course Squid Game is on Netflix, so if you got that, you can watch that. It's another. That was a
it's about like
gigantic.
medical bills and education debt.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're all the same. Yeah, it's why South Korean movies are very relatable because they have the exact same problems we do,
yeah,
just in a different language and culture and food.
yeah.
Although they seem to have like a lot of food there, but people seem to be in a lot of very good shape though. So.
They drink like they take it to the next level.
Okay.
I'm proud of Korean alcohol. It's like, man, that is, you truly are, sir. That is an art. That is a work of art. What you've done. I don't know how, because there's like something about just staying drunk all the time. Like it's like a thing.
Huh.
Well, a lot of things that go on are like kind of
Gotta keep it in the window.
yeah. It's all what I call slow suicide.
Yeah.
It's like there's such a thing as like doing things for fun, and then there's like, oh no, I'm gonna die for this, but I'm gonna make it seem like art, so it's important.
Yeah.
It's like, really, I'm just gonna drink myself. We're just leaving Las Vegas, but with a lot of rules, you know. It's yeah, and I think their food's kind of the same way. That's a very old culture though, ancient culture,
Yeah.
much older than China or Japan. It's been
Yeah.
around a long time.
You can find us at Letterbox username VHE 1 out of 5 stars. What are we giving Oldboy?
Oh, we're giving Oldboy a solid 5.
Okay. um.
Even if you listen to this and we spoiled the movie all the way through, back to back, you still got to watch it.
Yeah.
You have to watch it. It's required that you do that.
You can find our podcast at verhoeffect.com. There we have listener support. We can support us at a month is type either 99 cents, 4.99, or 9.99. Cancel anytime. And rate our podcast on whatever platform of choice. You can rate us for whatever you want. The algorithm only listens to the highest rating. So remember, give us the highest rating because you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect. And you can find us on Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. And you can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory and watch both this and that show live and unedited. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Godlin.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.